Hello everyone, welcome to another session of the Analytics Bootcamp. In today's session, we're going to be talking about Power BI. What is Power BI? Power BI is a business intelligence tool that is used for creating interactive dashboards and reports and is owned by Microsoft. And what are the things we are going to be looking at in Power BI today? So we're going to be looking at the Power BI overview, how to clean data in Power BI using Power Query, data modeling in Power BI, and how to create DAX measures and calculated column in Power BI, and how to create data visualization and interactive dashboard in Power BI. Now, before I go to Power BI, we have three different kinds of Power BI. So we have the Power BI desktop, which is the free version. We have the Pro and the Premium, which are channel free, so you have to pay either monthly or yearly for you to use some of the service. So for this session, we're going to be using a Power BI desktop, which is where you create your visualization. So I'm going to switch quickly to my Power BI to get an overview of what I'm talking about. Now, I've opened my Power BI. So for you to get your Power BI, you can easily just go online, download, click Power BI Desktop, or click on Google and select Power BI Desktop, download it, and you can easily install it on your laptop. The installation process is actually seamless. You can just follow through the instructions and you are there. So now, after downloading my Power BI, installing it, so I launched the Power BI, just launch it. So when you launch it, you're going to get this kind of like interface. Now, this is the Power BI interface. So, we have different tabs here. We have the insert, modeling, and view. Now, if you look to your left-hand side here, you will see three tabs here. We have this one. So the first tab is report. This is where you create your reports. Like you wanted to create your report, create your visualization. This is where you create your visualization. While the other one talks about the data view. This data view is whenever any data you import from into your dashboard or into your Power BI rather, you can easily view the data here. And also you can create your measures in this option, create your measures and calculated column in this part of the uh with this icon. So we're going to look into that very, very soon. And data modeling, this is where you link up your data, when you try to like link up your data by modeling the data for your visualization. Now, and we have the other part here. This is where you import your data. So depending on the type of data you are importing, so Power BI can import data from different sources. We are going to be looking at different sources you can import your data into Power BI shortly, and that is that. So when you want to transform your data, when you load in your data, you wanted to transform your data in Power Query, you click on Transform Data, and this automatically open up Power Query for you to clean your data. And this is for text box, like when you are labeling your reports or putting it on your report. So these are many more we are going to be looking at in this session. So firstly, let me try to import my data in Power BI. So how do I import my data? Now, before you can import data in Power BI, you have to determine the source of your data. Like where am I getting my data? Am I bringing in a flat file? Like when I buy flat file is like an Excel file, or a Google Sheet, or a CSV file, any type of file, or I'm connecting a data source, maybe an external data source can be our database or anything. So you have to determine that. So I come to get data option here. This is where I load in my data. So I click on the get data. So when I click on the get data, you can see we have different types of data sources here that you can connect to. So we have the Excel workbook, we have the Power BI data set, data flow, dataverse, SQL Server as a database. We have the text or CSV file. So if I'm bringing a text or CSV file, I can easily bring it there. If I'm connected to a web, I probably am trying to do kind of like a web scraping. So I'm downloading a data from a particular website. I can click on that. I'm collecting, if I'm doing a power blank query, probably I have to input my data one after the other. You can do that, but that is not actually, it's rare. So, and also if I click on more to see other data source, let me load. You can see I can load in a JSON file, XML file, PDF file, archive file. Those are different types of file formats. And I can click the database, Oracle, any form of database, MySQL, Postgres. You can see Synapse, Teradata, or Google Sheets, Google BigQuery. That's your data warehouse. You can also click on connect to that. So probably have different data sources. You can connect to different data sources for you to be able to like create an interactive dashboard or report in Power BI. Well, for the sake of this class, we are going to be connecting to Excel workbook. So I'm going to be selecting an Excel workbook. So click on Excel workbook. So it's going to ask me what data source am I connecting to? Yeah, so I'm going to be using this Excel class 2 as our data source. So I'm going to click on open. So when I click on open, so it's going to bring out different worksheets that I have in my Excel workbook. These are the different worksheets that I have in my Excel workbook. And I might need one of these or probably all of it. But for this session, I'm not needing everything. So I'm just going to be selecting the ones I need. Now for this session, the worksheet that I needed for this session is the first one is the customer table. So I'm going to be selecting the customer table. So the second one is a product. So you can select multiple worksheet at the same time. So I'm using the customer, the product, and the sales. So I'm going to be selecting these three. Those are the ones I need for this particular session. So after selecting the three of them like that, so you can see now we have option here. We have load and transform data. Now, this load is automatically going to load your data into Power BI for you to work with. Now, the other option, transform, is going to send the data to Power Query for you to clean. So automatically, if I click on transform data now, it's going to open the Power Query interface for me to clean my data before I now load it into Power BI. But for this, I don't want to go to transform data. I just want to click on load data so as we can see it. And from if I load my data into Power BI, I can easily just go back to Power Query to clean them. But let me load this for now. So I'm going to click on load and automatically it's going to load my data into Power BI. I can see data is loading. So after loading my data into Power BI, you can see I can see my data the right hand side here. You can see we have customer, we have the product, and we have the sales table. So those are the three tables that I see. So let me go back really to the data view to see what I'm talking about the other time. So if I click on the data view now, you can see I can easily see the data that I have here. You can see this is the data view. All the data that I have here, you can see the information there. And I can switch to the second data set and I can switch to the data set. And in this, you can see if you check to the top of this data view now, I have measures, new measures, and new column. New measures is when I want to create a DAX formula, and new column is if I want to create a new calculated column. So I'm going to look, we are going to look into this very, very shortly. And the next one is um, data modeling. This is where you link your data set together. Now, before you can work with three data simultaneously, you have to like create a kind of a connection between them, model the data, link them together so that the data can interact with each other when you are creating your visualization. So we're going to be looking at data modeling shortly also. And let's go back to the first one, which is the reports. This is where you create your interactive dashboard. So let me quickly just take us on how to create dashboard here. If you check to the left and right hand side, you see different types of visuals that you can use in Power BI. So we have the bar chart, we have the pie chart, line charts, we have the histogram, we have the funnel chart, we have the map, we have all sort of charts you might be needing to create your report or dashboard is actually provided here. So what you need to do now to create a report is just select one of the charts. So you probably let's say I want to create a bar chart now. I can select a bar chart. Automatically, it's going to show me like a template for the bar chart I want to create. Yeah, as I was saying, so when you come to this side, when you automatically hmm, drop your select a chart, it's going to bring out these options. You can see the x-axis, the y-axis, the legend. This is where you drop the data set you want to use to create your reports. For example, now, a bar chart has an x-axis and y-axis. So depending on the way you want it to arrange now. So if I drop probably column one to y-axis now, x-axis, and I drop another column to x-axis. So it's going to create a dashboard based on that report. You can see I have a dashboard now. So based on the variable that I drop into the x-axis and y-axis, automatically create a visual for me. So that's that. And also, if I wanted to create another one, I can select any other chart. I might want to create a line chart. Now, for this line chart now, probably I come to sales and I select maybe sales data. Okay, maybe I select column 4 to my x-axis, or probably just like column 4 to x-axis, to y-axis rather. So column 4 to y-axis and column 5 to x-axis. You can see it's also creating a visualization for me. So that is just a simple way we can create visualization. But for this one, now you can see our data is dated. That's why I'm showing all some of these things. So before we can create we can visualize our data in Power BI, or before we can do anything or model our data, first of all, we have to check whether the data is clean, and we have to clean our data properly if data is not clean. So let me delete this. You can just select data now to clean our data. So the only place you can clean your data in Power BI is Power Query, and Power Query has so many functions you can use for data cleaning, like so many functions you can use for data cleaning. So how can I switch to data Power Query for me to clean my data? So for me to switch to uh Power Query, so I have to click on this transform data. So when I click on transform data, automatically it's going to open up the Power Query interface for me, and I can see my data here. So this is the Power Query interface, and this is where you clean your data set. You can see your data set that I have here. Now, for you to clean your data, you have to identify some of the data cleaning issues that you have here. Now, just like we talk about in our data cleaning session with Excel, we have the general types of general data cleaning issue, and we have the problem specific data cleaning issue. Now, the general data cleaning issue we are going to be looking at is probably the duplicates, rows, null values, and outliers, and also standardizing your data format and many more. So those are the things we are going to be looking at here. Now, but first, before we get into that, when I load in my data into Power Query, you can see that I'm not getting my header as the correct header. Column one should be my header, but it's giving me another header here. And this might be due to the format of the data that we load in. Probably the first row of data set I loaded in is actually not the header. So let me quickly open up the data so that we can see what I'm talking about. So let me quickly open up the um, Excel. See what I'm talking about. So the data set I use for this is the Excel class 2. So let me open up the Excel class 2. So if you can see that the first row is not the header, so that's why Excel is putting anything in the first row in the Power BI. You can see the first row is not the header. It's not the header. So what we need to do for this one now, to switch back to my list is that we have to replace this row, first row as our header. So the first row is our header. So how do we replace the first row as our header? Now there's a function in Excel known as in Power BI known as use first row as header. So if I click on the use first row as header now, this is the option, use first row as header. Automatically, it's going to replace the first row as my header. Then we can have the first row as header. Now I have my header correctly. Now the second thing is that I have to check here is if you notice that I have some green line here and it's showing some hash at the end, that shows that there's a null value in our data set. Now, if I overrun that green line, you can see that it's showing me that 51%, that is 98% of my data is valid, while the other 2%, which is one, is empty. That means my data contains no value. If there's no null value in the data set, everything here will have been everything here will have been green. So some parts being green and some parts being shows that there's null values in data set. And when you overrun it, you can see the number of null values that you have in your data sets, and you can easily deal with that. So how can I deal with the null values in the data set? Now I can deal with null value in two ways. I can easily just come here into the data set. When I click on the drop down of the filter, you can see the null value here. I can just uncheck it, remove it, and click OK. And automatically it's going to remove the null values, and it's the same row that contains I have the null value in the same row for all the data set. That's why everything is clean. So if probably I have another null value in this column too, I can easily just go to it and just uncheck it, and it's going to remove everything. And that's how you remove null value from your data set. Now the next one is to remove duplicates. So what are duplicates? Duplicates are t-shirts. So I can remove duplicates from my data set in Power Query by just coming here, and from this side, you can see remove duplicate from data set. So when I click remove duplicate, it's going to remove duplicate from all the data sets, from all the data set I have here. So if I select remove duplicate, you can see it has automatically removed duplicates. Now, before I go to all the tabs that we have up here and discuss one of the functions that we have there and how we can use them, briefly, let's look to the left to the right hand side. You can see now, one thing about Power Query is like it keeps the history of the data cleaning process that you apply to your data sets. It keeps them. So you have the all the history of data cleaning process applied to this data set. And why is it doing this? It's doing this so that you can switch probably you missed a part when you are cleaning your data set. You can also go back to the original data set. So I can go back to the previous steps by just deleting the steps added, and automatically you're going to switch to the previous steps like that. And one of other things that why we this thing is actually used is because when you connect your data source to your Power BI and you can do your data cleaning Power Query, the subsequent data that is coming in into your Power BI will pass through this data cleaning process. So if the subsequent data that is coming in is dirty, so all these steps will be added to the to the data set before it automatically send them to Power BI to visualize. So that's why it's actually good. So all the data cleaning process you wanted to apply to your data set, you can easily carry out them here, and it's going to list everyone here. So all the subsequent data that is coming in, they are still going to pass through this process without you coming here to do it again. So automatically Power BI is just going to like carry out the process on the subsequent data coming in. And that's one of the advantage of these steps. Or you can easily go back to the default state or the original state that you have. So that is that. So I talked about the data replacing your first row as your header. That's the first thing. So if you look at this option here, we have different types of tabs here. We have the home tabs and it contains different options. We have the refresh, we have the advanced editor, choose column. If you wanted to delete your columns or choose a particular column, delete rows, split columns into different columns. You want to group your data. And also we have the use first row as header. We wanted to replace your first row as header. And we have the data type. So if I wanted to convert a particular column data type to another data type, I can easily use this option. So from text to numeric, from numeric to dates and stuff like that. So now let's look at the data cleaning issue that we have for this data set now. So the first one is we've identified the null value and removed the null value. So let's try out some of these functions and let's see how it can be used in Power Query. So the first one is this. So if I click on home now, home, we have the choose column, we have the add column here. So if I wanted to like remove a specific column, I'm going to select the column. Probably I want to remove the city. So I'm going to select the city column and click on remove. And automatically it's going to remove the columns. And let's say, for example, now you have so many large columns that you just want to select the ones you needed and let it delete the rest. So in that case, now probably I only need the customer ID and the customer name. So I'm going to select the two by holding down the control button. So what I'm going to do is just I'm going to select the choose column. So for this now, okay, sorry. For the choose column, when you select the choose column, it's going to list all the columns that you have here, and you can easily just remove the ones that you need and keep the one that you remove the one that you don't need and keep the one that you need. So for example, now let me just select it. So I need the customer ID and the customer name. So I'm going to click OK, and that's that. So I can go back to the original state for this one, like I said. So let me just go back to original state. Another thing is this, probably I have some columns that I wanted to keep and delete the rest. Probably I want to keep the customer ID, customer name, the age. So I'm just going to select the three columns by holding down the control button and click on keep. Uh, okay, sorry, that one is for rows. So when you click on this remove columns, click on the drop down arrow, you can see remove other columns. So it's going to remove other columns that is there except the one that is selected. So it's going to remove other columns. So that's for removing rows and column. And same thing goes for the okay. So same thing goes for the rows also. So if I wanted to remove some rows that I don't really need, probably some rows that there is not really useful for my analysis, I can just click select the rows that I want to remove and click on remove rows. So you can see uh remove rows. So you can see the options that we have here. Remove top rows, remove bottom rows, remove alternate rows, and remove duplicate rows. So if there's a room duplicate rows in your data set that you want to remove, so these are different options I can remove. So for example, now if I click on remove top rows, it's going to remove the first row, the row in number one. You can see Dave, age is 46, male, Pennsylvania. So if I click on that now, remove rows, top rows, it's going to ask me the number of rows I want, top rows I want to remove. So I just want to remove just the top row, like the first top row, and it has automatically removed that. So that is that for remove rows. So you can easily just remove rows, remove columns, and every other thing for that one. And any other options that we have here is probably you want to sort your data in descending or ascending order. You can easily sort it based on this. Click on sorting, sorting descending or ascending order. Another thing is split column. Let's say, for example, now I want to split the customer name into first name and last name. I can split them on that. So when you click on split column, you can split column by delimiter. That is something that is distinct in all the cells in the rows that you can split them up. And in this case now, what separates actually the first name from the last name is a space. And is actually consistent for everything. So I can split based on a delimiter. It can be a comma, it can be a full stop, it can be a column, it can be anything like that. And the next one is like by position, by number of characters. Okay, split by this number of characters, by the first, by the third characters, or by the fourth characters, or anything like that. By position and by lowercase to uppercase, by uppercase to lowercase. So you can also claim separate your data based on that, and by digit to non-digit and non-digit to digit. So depending on the criteria you want to split your data on. So for this, I want to split based on delimiter now. So I'll click on space. Automatically, when you select split based on delimiter, automatically identify the consistent delimiter in all the column. Select space. So I want to split based on each occurrences. So I click OK, and I have the two data sets separate here. Now you notice that when I select on occurrences, I have a third column here that is showing null. So the third column that is showing us shows that some of the data set that I have here in the name, like customer name, contains trailing space. Trailing space like a space before after. You can see this one that is showing that shows that this particular character contains a trailing space. That's why it's giving me the third column. So that's one of the issues we have to deal with, which we are going to talk about very, very soon. So that's that about splitting the data set. You can see we have the first name and we have the last name separated in different columns. And you can rename them. Probably I want to call this one first name, and I want to call this one last name. So that's major. So I can delete this whole column that is not really needed. So just click on remove columns and that one is gone. So it's deleted. So that's that on split column. And if you come to the transform option, so we have so many functions in the transform function. We have the format. Now, I made mention of the trailing space before. So if I wanted to remove the trailing space now, I can do that using the format option. So let me just go back to the original data set to trailing space. So when I click on this now, I go to format. Another format, you can convert everything to lowercase. So if I convert everything to lowercase, you can see everything is converted to lowercase. I can convert everything back to uppercase. Then convert it to uppercase. And capitalize each word, does that. And trim is to remove the trailing space. Trim and clean are actually doing the same thing, to remove the trailing space before or after a particular cell. So I click on trim now, it's going to remove all the trailing space that's that I have there, and the trailing space has been removed. Data has been trimmed, and I might want to add a prefix. That is, probably I want to add something prefix before the value or after, that's a suffix. So in this case, probably I want to add a prefix of Mr. to everybody's name. So I can just select Mr. Put dots here. So add a thing there. So you can see now we have Mr. in the name of everyone. So that is for prefix, and suffix can be after the value. Probably want to add something after. So that's prefix and suffix. And extract also, extract is to extract a portion of the values in the cell. So probably I want to extract the first character, the text before the delimiter, the text after the delimiter. So this one can also be like splits, but in splits is splitting each occurrence into different colors. But this one I'm just extracting a part of it. Now, if I want to use extract in this case now, I'm currently selecting transform. It's going to extract in place. That is, it's going to change the original state of this data set. So if I click on extract now, probably I want to extract the text before delimiter, or text uh, after delimiter. So let me say text before delimiter. So what is the text that I want to, what is delimiter? Let me use full stop. Full stop separate the mister from the other name. So let me just put full stop there. So if I click OK, you can see automatically it replaced the original state with the text that I extracted. So that's the difference between transform and add column. If I click on add column, it would have created a new column for that particular extraction. So let me just go back to the original state to see that now. So that's that about all these functions that we have here. And we have replace value. So for example, now let me add the Mr. again as a suffix. So let me add Mr. Where's the suffix? The format. So add prefix. So let me just put Mr. So when I put Mr. now, so if I wanted to replace the Mr. with Mrs. or Doctor, so you can use replace value in Excel in Power Query. So if I click on replace value option here, you can see replace values. So when I click it, said, what value do you want to replace? So I'm replacing the Mr. And what are we replacing it with? Replace it with Mrs. Something like that. So when I click OK now, automatically replace everything with what? With Mrs. And that's replace value. And those are just the uh different data cleaning you can carry out on the text data set. Now, the other thing is if you come to this type now, when you click on each data set, you can see if you check the top row, is automatically putting the data type in front of you. So this one is a text, that's why it's putting ABC. This one is also a text, that's why it's putting ABC. This one is a numeric, that's why it's putting 1, 2, 3, whole number, like that, like that. It's not every time that you load your data into Power Query that gives you the appropriate data type. Sometimes it mix up the data type or you just put the two there. So you have to actually identify the correct data type for each column and change it to that data type. So for example, now let's say I want to change this age to is a text now. So I want to change it to probably or a text. I can click on text and automatically it's going to convert it to text. So you just have to know the data type and convert it to correct data type. So that's what this data type is used for and like that. So that's just like overview of data cleaning with this thing. So I've actually cleaned this first data set. Let me go back to the original one. So I've cleaned the data set. Now let me go to the second data set. So I've cleaned the customer data set. Another thing I have to check for is duplicates. So to check for duplicates, remove duplicate from it. So I have to click on this option that looks like table here. Click on the drop down menu and click on remove duplicate. So remove duplicate is that it's going to check all the rows of data set and remove any form of duplicate that is present there. Remove duplicate, so that's remove duplicate. So you can come to product again. So for this one, I've changed use first to Azeda, and there is no, okay, I've removed the no value also. The next one now is to clean the sales table. And for the sales table, so we have to go through the normal process of replacing so okay, the header is correct, it's correctly set, and we have to remove the null values here. And remove the null values by selecting null values here. Okay, to remove the duplicates, you can click on remove duplicates. So when we click on remove duplicates, so there's actually no duplicate in this particular data set. So if I click on duplicates, so there's no duplicate there. So that's that. So you can easily remove duplicate there, duplicate there. So another data issue that we have here now, for the quantity now, you can see that there's the quantity data type is not correct. So we have both text and numeric. So we have to convert it to the correct data type. So I'm going to click on transform and click on whole number. So for the quantity, or we can click on decimal. Let me just click on decimal. So I converted to the correct data. Now, another issue that we have here is with the date column. You can see some of the date column is seen as a text data, while some is seen as a real date. If I try to convert this into a date now, I'm going to be getting an error because Power Query is not, it doesn't really understand the format of this one. So if I try to convert it to date data type now, you can see I will get some error here. So I'm getting some error because it doesn't understand the format of these ones. So now what is really causing this issue? What is causing this issue is that there's no conformity between the the date format from the source and the date format that you have on your laptop. Now, one thing about Power Query is this thing now. The date format in Power Query works with the date format that is set on your laptop. So if the date format of your laptop does not really conform to the one you have from the source, there will be some errors and some issue with the data set, with the date column. So how do we clean this type of issue now? We can clean this type of issue by just creating the date column again. So you can create the date column again, and we are going to be using the format of the dates you have on your laptop, format of your date set on your laptop. So what we need to do is just first of all convert everything to text. Let me convert everything to text first. So after converting everything to text, I have to split this column into day, month, and year. Then I have to make this back again. So what is responsible for day column is this backward slash. So if I split it based on the backward slash, so I'm going to have them in day, month, and year. So I'm going to select split column and by delimiter. So the delimiter there is this backward slash. You can see automatically has identified it. So click OK. Now we have our date in day, month, and year. So for me to now create a date now, so I have to like arrange or match this date value together based on the format I have set on my laptop. And this one is like the month come first, followed by the day, then followed by the year. So I'm going to select the month. The month is the one in the middle. If you check the value of the month, you see it doesn't exceed 12. And this is the day. You can see this one is 25. So I'm going to select the one in the middle first, which is the month. Then I select the control button to select another column, which is the day, and then I select the year. So after doing that, I'm going to merge the columns together to give me the date column. So I click on merge column, and it's asking me what do I want to, like, what will be the separator? The separator is you select the custom for the separator, then you put the backward slash, and you can call it date. Let me just call it date column and click OK. So now Excel has automatically generated a new date column for me. So Power Query has generated a new date column for me. Sorry about that. So after that, I can just uh, convert this one to date. So if I convert this one to date now, it should give me everything in date format. And you can see everything is in date format because it corresponds to the date format I have to. So let me just convert this one to text. Oh, this is my game. And that's that. We have our data all clean. Oh, I can see the customer data is clean, the product data is clean, and the sales data is clean. So after cleaning the data in Power Query, you can see all the steps are listed here. So all the subsequent data that is coming in is going to also be going through this cleaning process, steps rather.